The sun rose over Maple Drive like a secret it couldn't keep. The houses glowed golden, their manicured lawns stretching out in perfect symmetry, as if each blade of grass had signed an agreement with the homeowners association. The hum of sprinklers filled the quiet morning, and somewhere in the distance, the low bark of a dog echoed between the mailboxes. To most, it was an ordinary, peaceful neighborhood, but to Emily Carter, it was more than that. It was safety. A place where rules protected her from the chaos she'd once known. After her divorce, she'd bought the small two-story house on the corner and rebuilt her life brick by brick. She liked order, predictability, HOA meetings every Tuesday, trash bins rolled in by 6 p.m., lawns trimmed exactly to code. That was why she noticed it immediately, the old dented blue sedan parked across from her driveway. It wasn't from around there. It had no neighborhood sticker. Its paint was peeling, its tires were low, and inside she could see a figure slumped against the seat, wrapped in a military green jacket. At first, she thought it was someone waiting for someone, but then came the second day. And the third. By the fourth morning, she called the HOA. The HOA office was a converted garage run by Margaret Steele, a woman who treated rules like scripture. Emily explained what she'd seen, the car, the man, the strange feelings she had when passing by. Margaret leaned forward, typing something into her laptop. Blue sedan, license plate. You said KFN 3492? All right, I'll file it as a non-resident vehicle violation. Emily hesitated. He's been sleeping there, I think. I don't know if he's dangerous, but Margaret's eyes narrowed behind her glasses. Sleeping? On Maple Drive? She stood up, already reaching for her clipboard. Don't you worry, Emily. We'll handle this swiftly. HOA guidelines prohibit overnight parking of non-resident vehicles, especially ones that look unsightly. Emily left feeling uneasy. She'd done what she thought was right, but as she passed the car again that evening, she caught sight of the man's face. He was older than she expected, maybe late 30s or early 40s, unshaven, weathered, but not wild. His jacket bore a faded patch, U.S. Army. He looked up just as she looked away. Their eyes met, and for a fleeting second she saw something behind them. Not threat, not anger, something like exhaustion mixed with shame. 2 days later, a bright orange paper appeared under the car's wiper. Notice of violation. Vehicle subject to towing within 24 hours. Emily watched from her window as Margaret's silver SUV pulled away. The man, the veteran, stepped out of the car, his movements slow, careful. He read the notice, sighed, and folded it neatly, as if even bad news deserved respect. Then he sat back inside. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. The words, sleeping in his car, replayed in her mind. Who was he? Why here? By morning, curiosity defeated caution. She brewed a thermos of coffee and walked across the street. She tapped on the window. Excuse me? The man startled awake, blinking at her through the glass. Then he cracked open the window. Yeah? His voice was gravelly but polite. I, thought you might want some coffee. It's cold out. He studied her face, suspicion softening into surprise. That's kind of you, ma'am. She smiled awkwardly and handed him the thermos. I'm Emily. I live right there. He nodded. James Walker. The name hung in the morning air like a fragment of a story. James. Over the next few days, Emily learned bits and pieces. James had served 3 tours overseas, lost friends, lost family, came home to find his wife gone and his apartment sold. A spiral of medical bills, missed payments, and bad luck left him with nothing but the car. I was just driving, he said one night, staring at the streetlights. Didn't plan to stop here. Just ran out of gas and figured I'd sleep a few nights before moving on. Emily's throat tightened. You don't have anyone you can call? Not anyone who'd pick up. There was no bitterness in his voice, just truth. She began leaving small things. Sandwiches, water bottles, blankets. He always thanked her, never asked for more. He even started cleaning up around his car as if trying to prove he belonged. But the HOA wasn't patient. By week's end, Margaret called an emergency meeting. The agenda, Unauthorized vehicle on Maple Drive. Emily sat in the folding chair circle as Margaret spoke in her sharp, decisive tone. We've issued 2 warnings. If we allow this, others will think Maple Drive is a parking lot. Standards must be maintained. Someone added, my kids walk that way to school. What if he's dangerous? He's not dangerous, Emily said before she could stop herself. He's a veteran. He's been polite, respectful. Margaret frowned. Emily, compassion is admirable, but HOA rules are not emotional. We can't run on feelings, but he's a person, not a problem. The room fell silent. Then Margaret said, we'll give him 48 hours to vacate. After that, we tow. Emily left before the vote was final. That night, she walked back to the car. James was awake, his window cracked open. They're going to tow it, she said quietly. He nodded. Figures. Never stayed anywhere long enough to unpack. Anyway, something in her snapped. This isn't right. You serve this country, and this is how people treat you? Like an inconvenience? He shrugged. That's just how it goes sometimes. No, she said firmly. Not this time. He looked at her, eyes weary but curious. What are you going to do, Ms. Emily? Fight the HOA? She took a deep breath. If I have to. The next morning she started small, knocking on doors. Some people were sympathetic, others less so. He's just trying to rest, not cause trouble, she explained to Mrs. Nguyen, who eventually nodded and signed her petition. Allow temporary stay for homeless veteran. By evening, she had a dozen signatures. When she showed James the list, he stared at it for a long time. You didn't have to do this. Yes, I did. Someone has to, he smiled faintly. You remind me of my unit leader. Never took no for an answer. She grinned. Guess we'd have gotten along. For the first time, he laughed. A quiet, rusty sound that felt like sunlight after months of rain. The night before the HOA hearing, a thunderstorm swept through Maple Drive. The wind howled and rain pounded against roofs. Emily couldn't sleep, worried the tow truck might come early. At dawn, she rushed outside and froze. The old blue sedan was gone. Her heart sank, then she saw it. The car had rolled into the ditch near the cul-de-sac, half submerged in mud. James was standing beside it, drenched, trying to push it free. James, she shouted, running toward him. What happened? Brakes gave out, he said, panting. I was trying to move before they towed it. She grabbed the bumper with him, feet sliding in the mud. Together they strained until the car groaned and lurched forward. When they finally freed it, both collapsed in the rain, laughing breathlessly. For a moment, it didn't matter that she was an HOA member and he was a stranger. They were just 2 people trying to lift something heavy together. Later that morning, as the sun broke through clouds, the HOA board gathered again. Margaret stood ready with her paperwork, but Emily was ready too. Soaked shoes, mud-streaked jeans, and a stack of signatures. James Walker is not a trespasser, she said firmly. He's a veteran who needs time to get back on his feet. The community stands with him. Margaret looked taken aback. This is highly irregular. So was every good thing that ever happened, Emily replied. After a long silence, one board member, a quiet man named Luis, spoke up. My brother's a vet. Slept in his truck for months. Maybe we can give this guy a break. Murmurs filled the room. Finally, Margaret sighed. 1 week. After that, he must move on. Emily nodded. 1 week's all he needs. That night, Emily found James sitting outside his car, looking at the stars. They gave you a week, she said. He smiled faintly. Then I guess I'd better make it count. The air was still, filled with quiet hope, the kind that starts small but grows, one act of kindness at a time. And as the streetlights flickered to life, Emily realized something. For the first time since she'd moved to Maple Drive, her neighborhood felt alive.